Most welcome to Human TV Africa. This is Human TV Africa. My name is Kato Mukasa. I'm a lawyer by training. In the studio is Dennis Bongole from Uganda doing the production. And of course, the director of Human TV Africa. Human TV Africa, we are a registered NGO. We are registered NGO to do the work we do to promote human rights and, of course, knowledge and information, among others. Now, I want to encourage you, please consider subscribing to Human TV Africa. Look us up. Look at, get into the website, get into the search engine, and then look us up. We are Human TV Africa. We are spreading all over the world, and you can send us an email. The email is info@humantvafrica.com, and our WhatsApp number is right there. Our communication officer, Ben Kabeko, based in Nairobi, Kenya, will be able to respond to you immediately. If you want to do shows with us, this is the right time to join us. Now, having said that, we are registered and working globally. We have offices in Uganda, we have offices in the UK, we have offices in the US, we have offices in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and we are growing every other day. This is Human TV Africa. Our aim is promote awareness. Our aim is promote human rights. Our aim is promote critical thinking, logic, reason, rationale. Our aim is to give you a different kind of story that you don't normally get elsewhere on social media. Today, we are talking about rights. And the topic is freedom from arbitrary arrest, unfair detention, and exile. Listen to it again. Freedom from arbitrary arrest, unfair detention, or exile. Now, this is a very important fundamental right. Many of us have been victims. Maybe you are watching me. Maybe you have a relative who has been a victim. I have relatives, and I've been a victim too when you are targeted because of your work, because of your activism. I've seen relatives, I've seen friends who have been arrested and disappeared and put into prisons and put into safe houses and taken to unknown, ungazetted places, and then sometimes killed. I've seen relatives go into exile. I've seen friends go into exile. I've known people getting killed. Arbitrary arrest. Why do we call it arbitrary? In law, something becomes arbitrary when the right procedure is not followed. Something becomes arbitrary when there's no timeline, there's no framework for my appearing in court. It becomes arbitrary. Something becomes arbitrary if you don't read to me my human rights. If you don't listen to me, you simply come and arrest me and whisk me away. It becomes arbitrary. Something becomes arbitrary if it's unexpected. Something becomes arbitrary if my people look for me and they cannot get me. So such arrest becomes arbitrary. Arbitrary is uncoordinated, unexpected, unexplained under the law. People simply come, sometimes they're putting on masks, and they will disappear you. In law, we call it arbitrary arrest. It means that such arrest is illegal. Do you know, if you're Ugandan, that in Uganda, you have a Security Organizations Act? Look it up. A Security Organizations Act. And the ISO in Uganda, International Security Organization, must follow that act. They must not arrest you without telling you why they are arresting you, where they are taking you, and without allowing you to call your lawyer. It's within that act. But do they do that? They simply come and whisk you away. But their own act doesn't allow them to do that. Do you know that, for example, in Uganda, Kenya, and all these countries which violate rights for lawful arrest actually are signatories to the convention that stops them from doing arbitrary arrest? The covenant that stops them from arresting people without following due process. Arresting me is fine. As a lawyer, I should tell you, government, anyone can arrest me. As a lawyer, I know that. But the question is, how do you arrest me? Do you inform me about my rights? Do you allow me to talk with my relatives? Do you allow me to call my lawyer? Do you produce me to court after 48 hours? It is where you take me, a place known under the law, or it's your house, or it's your garage, or it's your damn place. You take me there, you torture me in there, and then you kill me. My people don't know. You put me there for years. That is arbitrary arrest. And the law is against that. Do you know that Article 9, read this, Article 9 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, Article 9, look for it, Article 9 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights stops any individual, any government under the sun from carrying out arbitrary arrests. UDHR, Universal Declaration for Human Rights. And most of these countries are signatory to UDHR. These are UN conventions, UN laws, where countries like Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, Rwanda, Egypt, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, all these countries are signatory to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 9 of that declaration stops any government, stops any security officer, stops any person from doing arbitrary arrest, unfair detention, and forcing people into exile. It stops them. And they are bound because they are signatories. They ratified it, they signed it. What does it mean if you are arrested arbitrarily? Identify the officer that is arresting you, get his rank, get his name, and then sue him directly as a person. I repeat it. In Uganda, we have an interesting law that we just passed in 2012 and thereabout. The law is to the effect that you are free to sue an individual, not the institution, that army officer, that policeman, that prison officer who came to arrest you without following the law. You sue him as an individual, not as an institution, because they've been escaping using the institution. They say, I work with police, I work with the army. Sue the army, sue the government. Now, the new law says you sue them as individuals. Now, why are we existing as Manus TV Africa? Is to empower you to know your rights, that you can actually sue an officer of the army, officer of the police, officer of the prisons, and any other person who violates your right and arrests you without giving you due process, including forcing you to be in your own house, which you call home arrests, house arrests. You are detained in your house. Still, the law doesn't allow that. Now, in these videos, we are going to see a number of videos to expose you to what's happening when there are arbitrary arrests, unfair detention, and exile. Our producer Dennis is going to give us these episodes and see what happened in Rwanda and what was the result. Diana Regina ended up dying. Arbitrary arrest, unfair detention in Rwanda. In Uganda, it is even worse. In Egypt, it's becoming worse. The countries that are doing this are Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, of course, Egypt, Syria, and other countries. They are known for doing these arbitrary arrests. Let us watch these videos and see what's happening around the world. Remember, this is Man TV Africa.
Activist Anne Rwigara has been found dead, shocking the nation and sparking outrage among human rights activists. The news was first shared on Twitter, a Rwandan citizen who expressed disbelief and condemned President Paul Kagame's regime for its alleged involvement in the activist's death. A well-known personality in Rwandan politics, Anne Rwigara was renowned for her frank criticism of President Kagame and his administration.
Most Rwandans live in fear, in terror. So even those who do vote for RPF do so mostly out of fear.
She was a strong supporter of social justice, democracy, and human rights in the nation. When Rwigara tried to challenge Kagame for president in year, she attracted notice from all over the world. Her attempt was, however, dashed when she was controversially disqualified from the race. Many thought that her exclusion was intended to silence her dissenting voice for political reasons. The news of Rwigara's death has sent shockwaves throughout Rwanda and beyond. According to reports, her lifeless body was discovered in her home in City by family members. The exact cause of her death remains unknown, and an investigation has been launched to determine the circumstances surrounding it. Given Rwigara's history of activism and criticism of the government, many
That is one video of Diana Rwigara, a very strong woman. She challenged Paul Kagame in 2017. Her crime was to say, I want to be a president of Rwanda. And they began arresting her arbitrarily. She was in and out of prisons, out of cells, sometimes disappeared. She ended up dead. That's an example of what happens following arbitrary. Let us watch other videos all the same.
Yomukola na manyi ekikulu basobola banakola ikono kajja kumala kunakolya wamu na
As you can see in those videos, that is the leader of opposition in Uganda, having escaped from his country home. He just escaped from his country home to go in the town. He had been put under house arrest by the rogue regime in Uganda, and he ended up escaping using a public taxi, and he ended up right in the middle of the town where he began planting bananas in the already potholed roads of the capital city. That is Bobby Wine, the president of the opposition, the people's favorite, right now in Uganda's politics. He was put under house arrest, and he had to run away from the guys that have been arresting him at his home, use the public taxi, and end up on the streets of Kampala. He was running away from arbitrary arrest, from house arrest, where he had been kept for almost 2 weeks. He had been kept in his home as a prisoner. He ended up escaping from arbitrary arrest. It is happening in Uganda. In Uganda, politicians are arbitrarily arrested, and in most cases disappeared and sometimes killed. Now that is the leader of the opposition, the youthful Bobby Wine, was arrested within his house for almost 2 weeks. He had been stopped from moving out of his house. He ended up going out by all his means, and then people end up seeing him on the streets of Kampala. That is Bobby Wine, the leader of opposition. He's got millions of people voting for him, including me. I gave him my vote in the 2021 election. That is Bobby Wine, the people's favorite, the leader of opposition in Uganda. He had been put under house arrest for over 2 weeks, end up escaping and end up on the streets of Kampala. Now, I will showing you what happens after arbitrary arrest. Some people escape. Now, you can even be arrested right in your house. They tell you, don't leave your house. This is what rogue regimes in Africa do. This is being done in Uganda. It has been done in Uganda. You have just seen Baby Wine in a public taxi. He has cars, he has vehicles. He can move in a private car, but he had to run away from house arrest, use the public matatu, a public car, and then end up on the streets of Kampala, running away from arbitrary arrests. Now, that's the problem with governments that have dictators, such as Uganda. We have seen the case of Rwanda, now we have seen Uganda. Let us see other videos to see more of arbitrary arrest, unfair detention, and exile.
Behind. This is where things start to get a little heated. So we have to make sure, oh, look at that.
This is not gang territory or cartel country. Incredibly, it's a minibus taxi center, where I'm headed to meet a man with a target on his back.
Okay, so I'm gonna go out and meet him. Hi, Yanda. How are you? Nice to meet you. You're the most important person in South Africa, it seems, from all your security guys.
Yeah, I would say in this area, I'm the most important person, yes.
Yanda is what is known in South Africa as a taxi boss. He runs a fleet of...
So why so much protection and what's happening around us?
I've been attacked 5 times.
You've been attacked 5 times?
Yes.
By whom?
By the opposition. There's always an opposition. I've been told they are paid more than $1 million
To try to kill you?
to kill me, yes.
In South Africa, the taxi game is big business.
Now, you have seen it. Now, this guy in South Africa is a businessman that owns a fleet of taxis. Now, some people want to kill him, they want to arrest him, and then these are gangs of Africa. Just like you can say in Mexico, you can see in Uruguay, you can see in Argentina. These are gangs. You can see in Italy, these are mafia gangs of business people that are so protected by their own soldiers, their own army. Now, not all of us can avoid arrest by enforcing our own security. This guy in South Africa has the money, has the power, runs a kind of business, therefore he can afford security because they want to arrest him, they want to bump him off, as they call it, they want to kill him, but he can afford to give himself private security. Now, not everyone has a chance to do this. Let us have a look at the rest of the photos to illustrate this point home. The police here intends to arrest a group of women. The police here intends to round up a group of women doing their private businesses in Uganda. They round them up and then they arrest them without warning. And you can see men arresting women, men fondling women's breasts, men handling women right on their private parts. Now, these are men arresting women, and this is happening in Uganda. A male officer is not allowed by law to arrest a woman and handle her like that. Yes. Arbitrary arrest. It's the definition of arbitrary arrest. Remember, it means unpredictability. They don't follow due process, injustice, and of course, inappropriateness during arrest. That's the meaning of arbitrary arrest. When it is inappropriate, when there is lack of justice, there is no warning, it's unpredictable, and due process is not followed. You cannot use men to arrest women. You cannot use men to fondle women like that. Women deserve their rights, women deserve their privacy. You should at least get a female officer to arrest a woman. And you have soldiers arresting people in the middle of a capital city. Women doing their business as food vendors being arrested arbitrarily to what is expected by law. And these are armed people, soldiers. What are soldiers doing in the middle of the city? Arresting people. What are soldiers doing in the middle of the city? Arresting people. Soldiers handling women, arresting women, taking them where? When did the soldiers allowed to arrest people? It is supposed to be the work of police, but then you deploy soldiers to arrest people and moreover arrest women who are doing their business of vending food. You round them off, you don't warn them, you don't even alert their lawyers if any, you don't even alert their families, you simply round them off and then force them into your filthy prisons, filthy jails, because they are doing their simple businesses of vending food to survive. They have been saying we have children, but no one listens to us. Now, this is the challenge. This is the dilemma facing many people in Uganda. Arbitrary arrests, as I told you, China, Syria, Uganda, Egypt, Rwanda, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and these other countries basically have been seeing increasing pockets of arbitrary arrests in the world. As you can see in those photos, it is absurd. People arrested and disappeared. People arrested and kept in jails for years without being produced in courts of law. That is Bobi Wine fleeing from his home. The leader of opposition had to use a border to free from a home arrest. Remember, Uganda, like other countries, is a signatory of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. That's the Lord Mayor, Elias Lukwago, was forced to start home and put under house arrest. He was forced to start home to avoid going to participate in a demonstration. He was told, go back home, start your home. No one is allowing you to go and be part of the demonstrators. You see, that is my OB. That's my old boy, Elias Lukwago, the Lord Mayor of Kampala City, the capital city of Uganda, and of course, a senior lawyer in Uganda. Now, this is the demonstration against potholes having roads having potholes, and of course, people are putting in banana stems. That is Bobi Wine leading the demonstrators in Uganda. You can see what has happened to his supporters being beaten to death because they are arrested arbitrarily. This child says, where is my father? My father is Damolira John, 50 years old. Where is my father? My father was arrested arbitrarily and disappeared. The child is saying, give me back my father. Remember, Article 9 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says no one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. The child wants her father. Her father was arbitrarily arrested and disappeared. Damolira John, up to now, is still missing. Besigye, the other leader of opposition in Uganda, has been arrested so many times arbitrarily to the Constitution of Uganda, arbitrary to the International Covenant on Civil Political Rights. Besigye has been put under house arrest for so many times, always forced to stay at his home and sometimes put in jail against his wish. And there have been always police escorts. This is the home of Bobi Wine, the leader of opposition. His home is surrounded by soldiers. His home is surrounded by soldiers. You can call it a battalion of soldiers surrounding the home of the leader of opposition in Uganda. And this is contrary to the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act. It is contrary to the Human Rights Enforcement Act of 2012. It is contrary to the Prevention of the Prohibition of Torture Act of 2012. This is Sechan Zidanian, one of those missing members of opposition. He was found almost dead, beaten, and bleeding. Was arrested arbitrarily and taken to unknown place, only to be released when he was on the brink of death. As Sechan right there, you see what police does when they're arresting people, beating them into coma, beating them to death. And this is why the Human Rights Enforcement Act of 2019 gives us power to sue the individuals that beat you. This is Asia Bibi, a Pakistan atheist woman, actually Christian minority woman who criticized Islam, and she was arrested arbitrarily and detained for 9 years, and later on had to get exile. Now, Asia Bibi was also sentenced to death until when humans around the world and freedom fighters went ahead to petition the government of Pakistan to release her. This is Mubarak Bala, my colleague in prison in Nigeria, having been forced arbitrarily to the law, was detained arbitrarily, was arrested arbitrarily, and has been in prison for the last 3 years. Mubarak Bala is in prison, is innocent. Nigeria is one of those countries that does not follow the law. This is Mubarak Bala, he was forced into a hospital for mentally challenged people simply because he said there is no Allah and I have a right not to be a Muslim. And he was forced into prison against the Human Rights Act of Nigeria, against the Prevention of and Prohibition of Torture Act, against the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. Balak Bala has been in prison, and they are violating Article 9 of the UDHR, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Thank you so much, Dennis, for this exposure. Today, we have been talking about the freedom from arbitrary arrest, unfair detention, and exile. This is Human TV Africa. We are here to enlighten you. We are here to share with you what are your rights. What can you do if these rights are violated? Remember, I told you that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 9, gives you powers to go ahead and sue the institution that does that, because you have powers not to be arrested arbitrarily. Remember, Article 9 gives you power, international, wherever you are, to take on a government that does that to you, that arbitrarily arrests you, unfair detention, or forces you into exile. Remember, the government of Uganda has got a law, the Security Organization Act, which actually right now gives us a right to sue individuals that arrest us and violate our rights. The same to the Act of Prevention of Arrest and Torture still gives us the right to sue the individuals that personally violate these rights. This is Human TV Africa. Our intention is to promote human rights. Our intention is to promote awareness about these rights. How do you fight for your rights? By being aware that you have these rights and being aware that you can actually promote these rights and you can defend them and you can protect your rights from people trampling on these rights. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Human TV Africa. Remember, we exist. We have so many shows that are educative. Please subscribe. And remember to write to us at info@humanstvafrica.com. Thank you so much, Dennis, for airing this show. And of course, keep it Human TV Africa. Keep your hope alive. See you in the next one.